This broadcast is brought to you by velocitymicro.com. Hello my nerdizzles, I am Sebastian Sjöberg, and yes, I love the Big Bang Theory. This is the 6th Polygonrevue.com Starcraft 2 broadcast, and today, as always, I got a special guest. He's come all the way from somewhere in the forest of Oregon, via Skype, but still, to be on the show, and he is a veteran of the Starcraft Brood War community. I'm of course talking about Geoff Robinson, better known as iNcontrol, who's been part of the scene for ages and been in various events and tournaments, not the very least the World Cyber Games reality TV show, The Ultimate Gamer. But that has very little to do with why he's here today. He is here to talk about very current news, because Geoff, as an individual player with pro gamer ambitions and as an associate of gosucoaching.com, very much intend to be a part of that coming future. The game is less than a month away from its official release, people. That is quite epic as nerdy things go. And Geoff has very, very interesting things to say that do concern you. I think you'll be very interested in hearing some of what's coming up and maybe even participating. That's all about that. Let's get on with the interview in just a moment. Just like to say that afterwards I got a few announcements of my own to make, as well as some questions that I want to direct to all of you in the name of making things bigger and better around Polygonrevue.com. So, stay tuned for that, but now, let's give it up for the man, Geoff iNcontrol Robinson. Hello and welcome, every nerd out there. I am Sebastian Sjöberg. This is the 6th Polygonrevue.com Starcraft 2 broadcast, and today I've got the man with the biggest biceps in the business, Geoff iNcontrol Robinson. How are we doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on the show. We tried to make this happen a few days ago, but well, there you go. Nice to have you here now. It's been an exciting couple of months, hasn't it, Geoff?
Oh, absolutely. You know, as a StarCraft Brood War player, and even before that, a StarCraft player, it's almost surreal living in the age, in the day of StarCraft 2, especially in the beta, a process that a lot of RTS players, especially on this scale, haven't experienced. You know, we have complaints, we have problems, it gets fixed, but I mean, as I was saying before that, even, you know, what even overshadows that is just the fact that we're playing the game. We're playing StarCraft 2. It's the game that's to conquer all games. You know, it's pretty exciting.
It's the New Testament. I know what you're saying. I've been playing for it's 1998, and now it's suddenly here. Brood War feels like a very long time ago. And you and I, of course, we did an interview back in prehistory, and we also had a little bit of a project going on, a bit of a tournament that the conclusion of it coincided with the StarCraft 2 beta, more or less. But you've been up to some interesting things lately. We're going to talk more about gosucoaching.com and whatnot soon, but just one thing I'd like to ask you. You were a Zerg player, a very devoted such, back in the Old Testament days in Brood War. Now you switched to Protoss, and I think the reason you gave at one point was creativity. Please do expand on that.
Sure. You know, I get asked that question a lot, and to be frank, I played Zerg as a young child who, you know, was just collecting Tyranids. I loved the Alien movies. When I played with my action figures, you know, I aired towards the demons of the Spawn genre. For anyone, Todd McFarlane, if anybody's familiar with that.
I think we've all
yeah, I mean, it was very much so an aesthetic decision. There was no intention for competitive prowess. There was no decision like, this is what best suits me. I just did it because I loved the Ultralisk, I love bugs, I love the style of the Zerg. And that's what carried me through, because, you know, once you get that muscle memory, once you get really comfortable with a race, it becomes very difficult to switch from that race to another one. So with so much with so many years of build-up in the Zerg race, it didn't make sense to switch. And you know what? I have no regrets because I won a championship. I did fairly well in other tournaments. You know, I'm happy with how I did. But going into StarCraft 2, I knew that I was going to do it as a competitive player. It's it wasn't going to be an aesthetic decision. It wasn't going to be stylistic necessarily, in the sense of, you know, art, just the way the Zerg moves and that kind of stuff. So I picked Protoss because I think they best reward creativity and cerebral play. You know, a lot of their units are built around quick tech switch decisions or just decisive tactical precision and that kind of stuff. And I really like them, and I'm happy with that so far as well. I think they're much, much better suited towards my mechanics and me as a player.
Well, you seem to be doing quite well, and that was quite interesting because I interviewed Dan Artosis Demkowski very recently, and he, of course, as is known everywhere, he was a very prolific Terran player in Brood War, and now he switched to Zerg, and I think one explanation he gave was that nowadays Terran are so mobile, and he actually didn't like that as much. So he switched to another thing. And are you a Dark Templar man or more of a Colossus drop player? How would you describe it?
Well, a quick aside to Artosis, he actually gave a BS reason there. He's a sellout. He picked Terran in the Brood War because they were the imbalanced race that all the champions picked, so he picked them to try to emulate that. And then with Zerg, the clearly imbalanced race in StarCraft 2 thus far, he picked that because he can't engineer wins on his own. But enough about Artosis. Kidding aside. Yeah, I'd say the way to describe me as a player is, you know what, I like to do little tactics that get me an edge, and then I like to pour on the macro. Little things, yeah, Dark Templar, Void Ray openings, or, you know, even Blink tactics against Terran, and just that kind of stuff. I like to mix my play a lot if I could be described as a player, meaning I try not to do one thing in each matchup. I try to do a multitude of things. That way, in a tournament or a show match or a clan war, a player that's done their research on me or just knows me as a player thinks to themselves, well, he does a lot of stuff. He kind of does this stuff every once in a while. But I like to be different. I like to keep them on their heels so that, you know, someone can over-prepare, so to speak, and be too defensive, and then I can take advantage of that. I like to keep my place pretty static, basically.
Well, I'm gonna ask you more about that brainy side of your play soon, relating to your coaching. But of course, players can watch some of your Protoss antics right now as we speak, because on the interview screen there is a match between you and Pain User acting it out. So have a look there, folks. But you mentioned you're going to be a competitive player in StarCraft 2 properly. You've been a WCG Ultimate Gamer on that reality show and a household StarCraft Brood War name. What is the ambition with StarCraft 2? Pro gaming and beyond?
Absolutely. I think, you know, growing up with Brood War as the premier game that we all played, it's a real fun time because we would be so excited when there was a $500 first place prize for a month-long tournament, you know, it's streamed for 3,000 people. There's page after page of forum threads dedicated to it, all this hype, and we enjoyed that. And I think that same enthusiasm, that same excitement is going to carry over into StarCraft 2, only it's going to be on a higher scale. I mean, there's already in the beta, there's tournaments for $2,000, $1,000. I mean, look at Artosis, Idra, and Tasteless in China. They were playing on a stage with an auditorium filled with people, and a guy sitting across from a glass lit floor. I mean, it's pretty awesome how much excitement is around this game. And for me as a player, I want to be a part of that. The reason I'm in StarCraft, the reason I do what I do, is because I'm an extremely competitive person. Whenever I do something, I don't want to do it half-ass or mediocre. I want to do it at an extremely high level, and StarCraft 2 is a part of that. I'm looking to up my game. I'm going to train with EG. You know, I've got a good community around me. Some guys from Root Gaming, friends from Europe, all that kind of stuff. So I'm really going to pull in all the stunts, and I'm going to try to do the best I can.